On December 5, 1945, 5 Navy TBM Avenger bombers, known as Flight 19, lifted off from Fort Lauderdale for a routine training exercise. The weather was clear, the plan was simple, and the pilots were experienced. Yet within hours, all 5 planes vanished without a trace over the Bermuda Triangle. For decades, investigators have pored over radio logs, search reports, and the desperate transmissions sent during those final hours. Faulty compasses, missing clocks, and voices filled with confusion, each clue brings us closer to understanding what really happened. But how could a straightforward mission turn into aviation's greatest unsolved case? On that December afternoon, the stage was set for a routine mission. Flight 19's assignment was simple: navigate a triangular route over the Atlantic, execute bombing runs at hens and chicken shoals, and return to base. The weather was calm, the pilots were experienced, and the Grumman TBM Avengers they flew were considered reliable. Charles Taylor, the squadron leader, led a group of 13 men, each ready for what should have been just another training flight. Every detail had been planned. The course would take them east, then north, then southwest, back to Fort Lauderdale. While the planes lacked the advanced avionics of today, they were equipped with compasses, radios, and flight plans. However, there was one overlooked detail. Each aircraft's navigation clock was missing, a common issue at the time. Pilots were expected to rely on their own wristwatches to keep track of time, essential for dead reckoning, the method used to calculate position by speed, time, and direction. Without synchronized clocks, even a small miscalculation could send the formation off course. The first signs of trouble emerged as the squadron turned for home. Nearly 2 hours into the flight, Taylor radioed a message that would set off a chain of confusion. "Both of my compasses are out, and I am trying to find Fort Lauderdale, Florida." With his main instruments failing, Taylor misidentified their location, believing they were over the Florida Keys, when they were actually far to the east, near the Bahamas. The rest of the group, trusting their leader, followed his directions deeper into open water. As uncertainty grew, the pilots' voices on the radio revealed their mounting anxiety. One student pilot's words captured the confusion. "I Dan, T, know where we are. We must have got lost after that last turn." The ocean below offered no landmarks, and with the sun sinking, their chances of finding their way home slipped further away. Taylor instructed the group to fly northeast, convinced that would bring them to the mainland. But without reliable compasses, they were only moving farther from safety. The situation became more desperate as fuel dwindled and daylight faded. Taylor's final orders, documented in the Navy's inquiry report, were to turn to a heading of 270 degrees due west, until landfall or running out of gas. The hope was to reach land before their tanks ran dry, but the reality was that they were heading into the vast Atlantic, not toward Florida. Radio contact grew weaker, the transmissions scattered with static and uncertainty, until finally there was only silence. Flight 19's disappearance set off alarms across the Navy. The combination of faulty equipment, navigational errors, and the unyielding expanse of the ocean had left the squadron stranded with no clear way home. As the last signals faded, the urgency to find the missing men grew. The Navy scrambled to launch a rescue operation, but what happened next would only deepen the mystery. As the hours ticked by and Flight 19 failed to return, the Navy turned to its most trusted search and rescue workhorse, the Martin PBM Mariner. This massive flying boat, often called the flying gas tank, was built to cover long distances over open water. On December 5, 1945, PBM 5 Buno, 59,225, was ordered into action from Naval Air Station, Banana River. Its mission was clear: find any trace of the missing Avengers. The crew of 13 prepared for what should have been a straightforward sweep. Crew members described flames leaping more than 100 feet high, burning for about 10 minutes before fading away. The Gaines Mills quickly changed course to investigate. When they reached the site, all they found was a slick of aviation gasoline and oil on the water's surface. No wreckage, no survivors, nothing to suggest what had happened to the Mariner and its crew. Around the same time, the escort carrier USS Solomons lost radar contact with an aircraft in the same area, supporting the timeline of the explosion. The Mariner was designed for endurance, but it carried a risk that came with its size. The PBM-5 was loaded with 9.83 tons of aviation gasoline, a necessity for its long-range patrols, but also a serious vulnerability. Investigators later focused on the aircraft's flexible fuel lines, which were known to loosen in rough conditions. The combination of a potential fuel leak and an ignition source, something as simple as a spark from the radio, could have triggered a devastating mid-air explosion. The evidence pointed to this scenario: a sudden blast, no distress call, and no time for evasive action. This wasn't the first time the Mariner's design flaws had come under scrutiny. In the months before December 1945, similar incidents had been reported, raising questions among Navy crews about the safety of these rescue missions. The loss of PBM 5 Buno, 59,225 only, deepened those concerns. With no physical wreckage recovered, only the oil slick and aviation fuel remained as grim markers of the Mariner's fate. The disappearance of the Mariner didn't just add another tragic chapter to the story of Flight 19. It made the mystery even harder to untangle. Now 2 aircraft had vanished in the same region on the same night, both leaving behind little more than questions and a patch of oil on the sea. The lack of answers, the suddenness of the explosion, and the complete absence of survivors or wreckage all contributed to a sense of unease that lingers to this day. It's this combination of unexplained loss and incomplete evidence that keeps the story of Flight 19, and the Mariner sent to find it alive in the minds of so many. Decades later, the questions remain. How could so much vanish so quickly, and why has no trace ever been found? Instead, what stands out is how Flight 19 has become a fixture in our collective imagination, refusing to fade even as new decades and new theories come and go. One of the most enduring images comes from Steven Spielberg as Close Encounters of the Third Kind. In the film, the missing Avengers appear, untouched by time. In a remote desertan image that transformed a Navy training flight into a symbol of supernatural possibility, that single scene did more than entertain. It anchored Flight 19 at the heart of the Bermuda Triangle legend, fusing fact and speculation in a way that still shapes how we talk about the unexplained. The mysterious staying power owes much to the endless swirl of theories that have grown around it. Some explanations are grounded in science: navigational errors, fuel exhaustion, and the vastness of the Atlantic. Others are more speculative, ranging from magnetic anomalies that scramble instruments to ideas about parallel dimensions or alien abductions. The radio transmissions from Charles Taylor describing faulty compasses and mounting confusion only fueled the sense that something unusual was at play. With no definitive evidence to settle the debate, these theories keep the conversation alive, inviting each new generation to weigh in. Sometimes, the search for answers seems close to a breakthrough, only to slip away again. In 1991, a group of treasure hunters announced they had found 5 Navy Avengers off the Florida coast. For a moment, it seemed like the mystery might finally be solved. But when investigators checked the tail numbers, none matched those of Flight 19. The discovery answered nothing and instead raised more questions. How did those bombers end up there? What happened to the original squadron? Finds like this highlight just how many secrets the ocean still holds, and how even near misses can deepen the sense of mystery. Efforts to solve the case haven't stopped. The Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale Museum continues to support expeditions and research, including projects like Project Mariner, which focuses on locating the PBM Mariner rescue plane. These initiatives are more than historical curiosity, they are about providing closure for the families of the 27 crew members who vanished. For them, the search is personal, and every new lead brings a mix of hope and frustration. The ocean's silence after all these years is both a challenge and a reminder of what remains unknown. Media coverage and documentaries like the BBC's The Bermuda Triangle, Beneath the Waves, help keep the story in the public eye. Each new investigation, each piece of evidence, and every fresh theory adds another layer to the legend. The fax oil slicks, abandoned Avengers, and final radio calls point to a tragedy shaped by human error and bad luck. Yet the lack of conclusive wreckage means that more exotic explanations never quite disappear. The legend endures because the definitive answer always seems just out of reach. For many, Flight 19 is more than a story about lost planes. It's a reminder of how much remains unexplained in our world. The fascination with the Bermuda Triangle, the ongoing search efforts, and the steady stream of new theories all speak to a basic human urge to make sense of the unknown. And as long as the ocean keeps its secrets, Flight 19's story will continue to inspire questions, debate, and wonder, an enduring mystery that challenges what we think we know and reminds us there's always more to discover. The story of Flight 19 stands as a stark reminder of the limits of our knowledge. Even in a world mapped by satellites and explored by fleets, the disappearance of 27 crewmen and 6 aircraft on a clear December day set off one of the largest air and sea searches ever attempted. Covering more than 200,000 square miles, yet not a single definitive clue has surfaced. What do you think lies beneath the waves? Let us know in the comments. If this unsolved tragedy fascinates you, hit like, subscribe, and share your theories below. The search for answers continues, and your perspective is part of the ongoing story.